Hi there. Time to clean out your tackle box, maybe put your ice fishing gear away, get out your spring fishing gear. We have a lot of great fishing coming up in Michigan in 1988. We've been talking to some fisheries biologists, have some surprises and interesting facts about fishing in '88. We have a great recipe for venison meatballs, outdoor headlines, and a lot more. Stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night. Time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, it's history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around again, at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can, it tells you of the beauty in this state of Michigan.
Spring and fall, those are the times steelhead fishermen take to the rivers and streams leading into the Great Lakes. You've often seen us on Captain Emil Dean's riverboat on the Manistee. But what's the forecast for steelhead fishing this year? According to Asa Wright of the DNR Fisheries Division, there should be plenty of steelhead in all the traditional streams. The run has started already. Fishing looks good all over. One thing DNR research has shown is that when the larger rainbow trout are planted in the streams, when they let them grow a little bigger in the hatcheries, the return rate is much better when those adults come back to spawn. So the DNR has started planting larger steelhead. And Asa Wright says watch for the spring of 1990. Steelheading should be nothing short of fantastic, and until then, even this spring and the coming fall, it's going to be darn good. Now, a cousin of the steelhead trout, of course, is the salmon, the coho, the chinook that are planted each year, too. In 1986, salmon runs didn't appear on the east side in Lake Huron, and last year the Lake Michigan runs fell way short. What happened? According to Asa Wright, there are two factors. When the wind didn't blow the warmer surface water towards the shore, the bait fish, the forage fish, they stayed in deeper water. Out farther, that's where the salmon stayed. That's factor number one. Number two, the Great Lakes are finally running short of adult alewives, so salmon are shifting their feeding more and more towards chubs. Now, remember, the salmon were brought in to eat the alewives, and they've been doing that, and now the salmon patterns are changing. To check this, the DNR is going to be doing a lot more fin clipping of salmon to trace their movements and the locations of the catch. So how's 1988 going to be? Well, fingers crossed, if the weather cooperates, we should have those big limit catches of salmon again. Let's hope so. Now, you've seen us catching walleye with Mark Martin in Muskegon Lake at night. Well, good news for walleye anglers. Walleye fishing is basically improving all over where the DNR and local groups have been propagating walleye. Bay de Nox, Saginaw Bay, a number of our rivers, Houghton Lake. You're going to see more walleye and bigger walleye in '88. Lake Erie is improving, Muskogee Bay is a favorite, Lake Gogebic, St. Joe River, Osable River, Detroit River, Lake St. Clair. No shortage of walleye fishing in Michigan in 1988. Caught in the same lakes, oftentimes, is northern pike. Now, it's always been said that the northerns are in the weeds, in the shallows, while the walleye like the deep holes. But many of our good walleye lakes don't have deep holes, and you're going to find walleyes have adapted to the weeds. You'll catch pike there, too. And there's no big difference in the forecast for pike fishing for the coming year, despite the fact that pike and walleye season have closed later and opened earlier. Biologists insist this won't make an appreciable difference on the catch. What are some of the better pike waters? Well, all I can say is pike are found just about everywhere. The bigger pike tend to come from the bigger waters. Every now and then a lunker comes in from a small pond, but pike season should be about the same as in the years past. Now, muskie, big cousin to the northern pike. You can tell the difference mainly because pike have dark bodies with white spots. Muskies have lighter bodies with darker spots or stripes. Now, the DNR does not have a statewide muskie plan. Local fisheries biologists do their own stocking in their own districts. They've been doing it more over the years, and the trend is towards turning more lakes into excellent muskie lakes and trophy muskie lakes. There's a bit of confusion, even among the experts, about the various species of muskie. Some say a muskie's a muskie, and how it looks is only a difference in looks. You're looking at Nick Nichols' Great Lakes muskie, the largest one caught in 1985. It has dark spots on the side. Now, the northern muskie, as it's called, has faint stripes rather than spots. Tiger muskie is a cross between a pike and a muskie. It grows fast, it's popular to stock. This hybrid tiger muskie can't reproduce, just comes from hatcheries, while the other types reproduce naturally in our lakes, but they don't grow quite as fast. Used to be that catching a muskie took up to 100 hours. Back in the 50s, that was the catch rate per angler. But nowadays, with more muskies and more stocked lakes and smarter anglers, your chances of catching a 50-pounder like Nick Nichols is greatly improved. So the forecast is up with muskies and with perch. Now, panfish, of course, are the bread and butter fish across the state and across the country. Bluegill, sunfish found in inland waters. Perch, primarily a Great Lakes species, although most lakes hold perch, but many of them run small. Asa Wright from the DNR says that the Saginaw Bay might be better this summer because the DNR hasn't heard complaints this past year from anglers about small perch. The winter perch fisheries seem to have been good, so from that, experience has shown that the summer should follow, and you should be able to find plenty of decent-sized perch in Saginaw Bay this year. Now, Lake Michigan is the expanding perch fishery. They've been running larger in Lake Michigan and been catching more of them in recent years, so look for better perch fishing on the west side. Now, one word of warning for perch anglers. DNR research has shown that due to some bad weather conditions and spawning survival in the past few years, some age classes of perch haven't survived well. The growth rate has dropped for perch hatched in those years. This could mean some lean years coming up when perch fishing won't be quite as good. There's your excuse to get out perch fishing more this year while things are looking up. You know, another fishery on the rise is bass fishing. It isn't so much the fish, according to the DNR. Our past few winters have been mild and the summer growing season is slightly longer, but that really hasn't shown up in the length of our fish. But interest in bass fishing seems to be on the rise in Michigan. More anglers learning how to catch them, and more are being caught. This has been a trend that's continuing. Largemouth bass are the species taken in the warm, weedy lakes, but smallmouth bass fishing in the cooler streams, especially in southern Michigan, has been overlooked. The River Raisin, the Shiawassee, the Grand, these rivers can rival the great smallmouth fishing of the northern lakes and the Great Lakes shorelines. That's a tip. Some good bass fishing yet to be discovered. That's our wrap-up. Thanks to Asa Wright from the DNR Fisheries Division for his analysis. I'd say it looks like fishing will be alive and well this summer, so catch a big one and make fishing a part of your Michigan outdoors. Helen Schneiderman from East Lansing sent us a recipe. If you can dig in your freezer, get out some venison burger. This is water chestnut meatballs, which sounds like an Oriental recipe.
It does. She uses fresh breadcrumbs, onion powder, garlic salt, soy sauce, here's some of your Oriental sauces, and water chestnuts. Like you say, it'd be Oriental, almost sounds like. And milk for liquid. Most time in a recipe like this, you'd find eggs to hold everything together, but you're going to use milk. Go ahead and mix the sauce out of the milk and the soy sauce and your spices. Now, it calls for quite a bit of soy sauce rather than salt. And then a tablespoon of garlic salt.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, it really is. And then a quarter teaspoon of onion powder. And you can almost taste the onion powder over the garlic salt. And then the fresh breadcrumbs that you have to cut up yourself because you can't buy those fresh.
So you mean dried breadcrumbs,
just
like a
regular
stuffing
bread?
mix
No,
wouldn't work?
just no, because it'd be too dry. You definitely want fresh. And then your pork sausage and venison burger.
Pork and venison. Pork fat and venison are a classic combination, of course, for the moisture.
That's right, or like bacon. And then your water
chestnuts.
And they stay nice and crisp. Now I'm going to go ahead and bake those for 20 minutes in a 350-degree oven.
And that's how Kathy Beitler made these. Garner, is this a venison meatball or just an old meatball?
No, this is a venison meatball. Venison and pork always work well together anyway. But what really makes this different, tasty and crunchy and really moist, is that doggone water chestnut. Now, I'd have never given you a rip for a water chestnut in a meatball recipe, but this is great.
It's different. Definitely different.
Sort of like eating potato chips with a peanut butter sandwich, to me. I mean, they're crunchy.
They stay crunchy.
They're a good contrast.
And
They're
in a
good.
glass of milk. You bet.
What about this barbecue sauce? Come on, Bob.
Yeah, why do I use it? I like it. Okay? I like barbecue sauce. I like Tabasco. I like all those sauces. So it just works well on this.
With most meatball recipes, I'd say the same thing, but I like this meatball recipe plain.
Natural.
Will a whitetail doe lose any body weight in the winter if it's healthy? Even with the supply of all the nutritious food it can eat, a whitetail deer will normally lose 12 to 15% of its body weight during the winter. This loss is due to the winter metabolism of deer.
I know it doesn't look like a monster for the trophy book, but in the world of smelt, it's a whopper. A full foot long, it was netted by Leonard Vining Sr. from Grand Rapids in a stream in Schoolcraft County, a 12-inch smelt. But you want big fish? Well, Tom Raftery from Garden City caught this northern pike in a lake in Oceana County. 17 pounds, it stretched 40 inches in length. Now, a smaller species, the white bass, only have to grow to 15 inches to make the Stroh's Fishing Awards minimum. This one was a bit longer, weighed 2 pounds, 1 ounce, caught in Lake Erie by Charles Laganess from Rockwood. 13-year-old Christopher Sizik from Bay City caught a qualifying crappie from the Ausable's Foot Pond. 13 inches, it weighed 1 pound, 3 ounces. And deer season 1988 was a banner year for Abe Lincoln, that's his name, from Gwinn. Abe took this 10-point buck with a 19-inch spread during muzzleloading season in Marquette County. Hunting in bow season in Muskegon County, Jeff Stockhill from Casnovia took this 10-point in late October. It had a 20-inch spread for a total score of 30. Longest tine was 9.5 inches. Mike Slominski from Saginaw on the 1st of November, casting a rapala on the Tittabawassee River, got a walleye that weighs how big?
12 pounds, 5 ounces.
Man, that is a whopper. Hold it up there. This is a Michigan walleye.
And since October, we've caught, me and a friend of mine, we've caught over 400 walleye.
And this is the biggest?
This is the biggest. We've caught 20 of them over 9 pounds.
Man, what a record. Mike Slominski from Saginaw, you're a man to talk to. You ought to start booking trips. Mark Martin has an overflow. Points of law are the most common subject in our mailbag, and John Meninen from Hancock wants to know, what does Michigan law state if, while goose hunting, a hunter shoots into a flock of geese on the ground and kills or wounds more than the limit in one shot? Does the hunter take only the limit which are killed? Well, first of all, John, shooting into a flock is a poacher's technique and not something a sportsman would do or should do. But let's say 2 geese flying close together were taken by one shot and it put you over the limit. Well, according to the letter of the law, there's no question. You must leave the extra bird in the field without touching it. Don't take it into possession, or you'd be over your limit and liable for a ticket. My best advice? Oh, be sure of your shots and don't take a chance on putting yourself in that situation. Pete Lee, longtime sportsman, became disabled and talked to us about it.
I was in a car accident, broke the right leg in 21 places, and both femurs and the left knee was shattered. So I spent almost 2 years off my feet, and then
How'd you get around?
in a wheelchair and with a walker, and then I went to therapy and learned to walk. Because it's a process of learning all over again. The brain does not function, just like people assume that their feet work, but it's not that way. The mind has to make them, and when you've been immobilized for 2 years, it's just like a little kid learning to walk all over again, except that it's a lot further to fall. And at 40 years old, it's a little tougher than it was at 1, you know?
Yeah.
So it's quite an experience, but God thank the fact that they've got plates and pins and all this stuff, because that's the way my legs are held together now.
So you had a couple years there without any hunting and fishing?
Oh, I've had more than that, because up until a year and a half ago, the arthritic problem with the broken bones, and I finally got some naproxen from my doctor, and it's now I can walk the majority of the time. I still have my days, but God, it's nice. It's nice when you can walk around, do this right here, go out in a boat and set, and it don't kill me like it did before. Man, I couldn't wiggle. You get out, if I'd spend a day in a boat, then I spent 2 days off my feet. But now, it's a little quicker recovery. The naproxen helps and all the other stuff, and it's great.
So the outdoors really it means a lot to you when you can get out.
Yes, I've spent all of my life, and Don can verify that, 10 years before as a sportsman president, and then I just went back in it a year ago, and I spent a lot of time teaching kids hunter safety, about 4,000 of them in this state.
How did that affect your attitude after you've gone through all this?
I don't know, it was kind of at one time I wanted to give it all up and just hang it up and say to hell with everything, but not now. I think there's too much to live for. And I'm going to start back teaching hunter safety again, and I'm going to be a lot more active in the club. I'm back shooting archery now. I had to switch hands and start all over again because the left hand is useless, but it's still, I shoot right-handed now.
What do you think about the Outdoors Forever program? What suggestions you have to us?
I responded to that letter that the Outdoors Forever sent to me in the mail in that book, and I think it enables somebody when they're in their feeble years to get out and do some of the things and like if they can build up piers and replace piers for people to fish on, it won't just help the old people. It's going to help guys like me that can't walk rough terrain, and it's going to help the younger ones too, because they're going to be right in there with them. The grandsons and my granddaughters, and they can go in there too.
Well, a lot of people will benefit, Pete, including master angler Doug Parker, who spends a lot of time pier fishing. You can't see his disability, and not many people know about his leg.
Which one?
You have a leg like Rogers. Which one is it? Can't even tell.
I think it's that one.
Good. That's it.
That's the one.
So you have an artificial leg below the knee?
Yeah, I have a Corvette leg. It's fiberglass.
Fiberglass, okay. Is it, after your accident, did that slow you down a little bit in the outdoors?
A little bit, but I have enough good friends, good brothers or whatever like that, and come hell or high water, they were going to make sure I was out there. I have been toted over shoulders, I have been wheeled, I have been crawled, I have been pushed, shoved, and whatever, just to make sure I was there because of the love for it and the guys I fish with. My hat's off to you guys, too. I appreciate all the help.
That's good.
It's been giving me a little problem this fall, and they've toted the wagon out, and it takes me 15, 20 minutes to get all the way to the end of the pier. My leg would bother me. I just have to stop, rest a little bit, and go, and they just haul it all out and get out there, set up, and go fishing for the day.
See, now that's something that people don't understand when they see somebody like Doug walking around. They say, hey, you got an artificial leg? No problem.
No, it isn't.
Except?
Sometimes. It gets to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, well, if you get a sore on the inside of your leg there.
It's back to almost crutches. Sometimes I have to pull out the wheelchair again. And sometimes it's go home and find a couch for 3 or 4 days, let it heal up. Because unless, with a sore on your leg, you can't go anywhere. And now you're back down to having no leg. Now you're back down to crutches and being an invalid again or whatever. Or real physically impaired. Not handicapped.
How long are you going to participate in the outdoors?
I don't know, till death warms over.
Yeah, there's a word I'm going for here. How long are you going to...
Forever, Fred.
Forever, that's right. Outdoors Forever. This is our man, Doug Parker.
Thank you, man.
He's not going to let that Corvette leg, as he calls it, slow him down. So there are some hot spots, but it's going to get better. Just hang on. Spring is on its way. Hope you can get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week. Next week, we do our annual show on the American tradition of trapping, an activity that is often misunderstood. Some don't think it has a place in modern society, but I do. I'll show you where and why. Plus a classic on catching a trophy muskie, a great recipe, and a lot more. So be sure to join us right here next week, same time, same station.